Finding a place to belong is everything. It's where you can make a difference, where you're heard, where you have a team that supports you, and the benefits you deserve. At Avera, you can find that place. You belong at Avera. Apply today. Avera.org/careers.
Sioux Falls is home to many things: locally owned businesses, an unmatched work ethic, and a community of leaders dedicated to growth and innovation. Powered by over 300 investors, Forward Sioux Falls is an advancement program aimed at enhancing the Sioux Falls economy. 2026 initiatives are well underway, focusing on talent retention, business attraction, and quality of place enhancement. Look to the future with Forward Sioux Falls.
Do you want to shape and lead the future? Walk with us. It's the team, the space, and the place that's going to get you where you want to be. It's USD.
The Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce didn't start our thriving business community. That was done by individuals driven to create their dreams.
Chamber does a lot with advocacy for businesses.
The Chamber is always looking to connect other people to your business.
So we joined right away, and we've been a member ever since.
The Greater Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce, we're standing at your side when nothing's gonna stand in your way.
What's affordable to her might not be for him. Our means may be different, but our need for energy is the same. And keeping the price for that energy as low as possible is exactly what we strive to do. It's what we've always done. Investments made 10 years ago have kept prices nearly unchanged. Investments made today will help keep prices predictable for the future, with energy that's cleaner, reliable, and affordable for all. An energy future that's American-made. Mid-American. Obsessively, relentlessly at your service.
In a world where life moves quickly and education comes in many forms, we believe there is still value in personal relationships, affordable, quality academics, and a supportive, Christ-centered environment. As the University of Sioux Falls looks to the future, we embrace what makes us different. If you're looking for a transformational experience, there is a difference. And that difference is here.
Here, we believe in doing good, even in small ways. In ways nobody sees and only a few notice. We do good in all the details. Through all the difficulties, we do good with every appointment, every conversation, every treatment. We do good for every person. Because no matter what we do here, we're making a difference. And it takes all of us to change somebody's life. Now think of all the good you could do if you join us.
There's something special about the people of Sioux Falls. It's home to go-getters, cultivators, and doers. Sioux Falls is a place where you can pursue your life and your purpose. You can slow down with your family or pick up the pace of your professional growth. It's that hard work, small town feel, close to the land, know your neighbor, endless possibilities that bring people here. Find out for yourself what a difference this state can make. Visit SiouxFalls.com/work, where over 40 of Sioux Falls' top businesses are hiring right now for people like you.
The #1 city for best small places for business and careers according to Forbes magazine, Sioux Falls.
Work Sioux Falls.
ZipRecruiter's #3 hottest job market, Sioux Falls.
Work Sioux Falls.
Over 40 businesses are hiring right now.
Work Sioux Falls.
That's why the Sioux Falls Development Foundation created Work Sioux Falls, a local resource that gives job seekers an inside track to jobs that are open right now.
Work Sioux Falls.
See the difference a local company can make in your career. Visit SiouxFalls.com/work.
It's not just the natural beauty, the outdoor playground, or the top-rated quality of life that puts our state on the map. Sioux Falls is also home to some of the most innovative and cutting-edge healthcare businesses in the country that attract worldwide pioneers in healthcare. Visit SiouxFalls.com/work to browse healthcare positions on all levels, from RNs to scientists, to business development and HR, among many others. Come find out why a healthcare career in Sioux Falls is your next move. Visit SiouxFalls.com/work to find your perfect fit. If you're ready to grow your career with the right company, Sioux Falls is the place to be. Sioux Falls is home to some of the fastest growing manufacturing, healthcare, and financial institutions that have their footprint all over the world. Be a part of something special, something growing, something that makes your short and long-term career goals possible. Sioux Falls businesses need you. Visit SiouxFalls.com/work to learn more about over 45 businesses hiring right now. That's SiouxFalls.com/work.
You've put in some amazing work, and everything is going to come out fantastic. So excited for everything.
All right, Lindsay, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you Saturday.
Have a good
Okay,
day.
bye. All right, Maya, what should we do next?
I know.
Thank you and welcome to 2024 Win in Workforce. Today marks the 7th Win in Workforce Summit hosted by the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, bringing together all things workforce. Win in Workforce Summit 2024 supports talent and workforce best practice engagement and is one of 14 programs in collaborations of the Talent and Workforce Committee. I am very appreciative of the time and expertise shared by the committee members. Dr. Bradfield, we have Steve Kobach, Kira Kimball, Scott Wickersheim, and Carla Santi. Please join me in giving them a round welcome and a warm applause. It is an honor to have Carla Santi join me on stage to welcome everyone to Win in Workforce 2024. As the CEO and founding partner of Blend Interactive, she has been instrumental in mentoring and inspiring the next generation of leaders. Carla is an advocate for building a diverse and dynamic workforce, a recognized leader in technology, and a passionate supporter of all our local talent through her work with the Sioux Falls Development Foundation, Startup Sioux Falls, and beyond. Please join me in welcoming Carla Santi to the stage.
Thanks, Denise. I am so excited to be here this morning at the Win in Workforce Summit. It's amazing to see so many of you here gathered to help shape the future of work in our community. First, a huge thank you to all the businesses and sponsors that we have here today. Your support and engagement through the Sioux Falls Development Foundation's 14 programs are what make our community and programming thrive. I also want to give a warm welcome to our Career Connection students from Jefferson. Yes, sir. Yeah! Joe Foss, they're still at school, maybe they're coming. Lincoln, Roosevelt, woo! and Washington high schools. Yeah, I know a few of them are joining us a little bit later in the day as well. This year we're connecting nearly 1,000 of you with local employers through job shadows, internships, and talent tours. So we heard them yell, but could you just all stand to be recognized for a moment? This is a big day for them as well. Thank you. Know that you are both welcome and wanted here. We truly value your unique skills and your energy, both at this event and in our workplaces. And to all the college students joining us via handshake via live stream, back there, hi everyone, welcome. With 308 partner colleges and universities, we're thrilled to connect you with internships and employment opportunities waiting for you in our community. Now, let's talk about our theme for today, the Great Reset. What does that mean? We're not just returning to business as usual. We're in the middle of a huge shift that's changing how we work and connect with each other. Here are just a few examples. We're embracing technology, like it or not. I've always been a fan. Automation and AI are changing jobs and creating new ones that we hadn't even imagined a few years ago. It's an exciting time, but it means that we all need to continue to learn and adapt. We all have new ways of working. Not all of us, but many of us. Remote and hybrid work has become the norm for so many of us. Companies are offering more flexibility, and we're able to tap into talent from all over the world. But what about these RTO policies, return to office? I assume some of you have seen Amazon's announcement last week to return to the office 5 days a week. I'm very curious to see what other large corporations and businesses will follow suit. Will you? I know my company has Collab Thursday, 1 day a week. It's not that much to ask, but some days it feels like it's a burden to them. So we're all juggling what this new reset looks like. Our well-being is a priority. More than ever, we're recognizing the importance of well-being and work-life balance. Companies are focusing on mental health support, flexible schedules, and creating cultures where everyone feels welcomed, valued, and heard. So the Great Reset is our chance to redefine what work means to us, an opportunity to create a more flexible, inclusive, and meaningful work environment. We hope our lineup today inspires you to rethink and reset your organization's next chapter. And speaking of a great reset, we're thrilled to have Ben Utek as our keynote speaker today. Ben, a former NFL Super Bowl champion turned Chief Culture Officer, will share his insights on building intentional cultures that uplift and succeed. We couldn't think of a better example of someone embracing a reset and a new chapter. Thanks to all our sponsors today for all your presence and your participation. Together, we're embracing the Great Reset and shaping our future workforce. Please help me thank our sponsors for today. All right, let's kick things off here with the talent talk. Meet your future workforce and their influencers. So please join me in welcoming Jody Schwan, owner of Align Studios and Sioux Falls Business, to the stage. Jody? All right, joining Jody today is Coach Hendo, Eric Henderson, Ben's basketball coach at South Dakota State University. Can I have a seat? Yep. Have a seat. And our next coach, Coach O, and I'm not going to pretend to pronounce his name, I'm going to make him do it. If those of you know his last name, you know why. Head football coach at Augustana University. Welcome. Ava Guzetta, a junior at O'Gorman High School. I bet Ava's mom put her up to this. Chevelle Odell, senior at Roosevelt High School. And her fan club. And Morgan Putzier, a college freshman at Augustana University. All right, Jody, take it away. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Carla. What great opening comments to set the stage for the day. As Carla said, I'm Jody Schwan. I run SiouxFalls.business. Hopefully many of you are familiar with it. Students, if you're not, this is a great free way for you to tap into everything that's happening in the Sioux Falls business community. It is a very exciting time to be looking at growing your career here, as I think the students that we'll hear from today will agree. One thing I want to say off the top is we are going to have a conversation today about the future workforce, as Carla said, about their influencers. But students, and it's so good to see so many of you here today, I want this just to be the start of the conversation today. I want you to be continuing that conversation as you're going about the program today, as you're interacting with employers, because we want to hear from you. This is critical to us as employers as we try to create the sort of business community where you want to live and grow. So thanks to the students for sharing their stories today, and I hope all the rest of you will think about ways that you can do the same throughout the WIN Summit. I am a reporter by trade. That's what I do every day. I ask people questions, and sometimes they say, well, what are you going to ask me? And often I say, well, I don't really write about ahead of time. I have an idea, but the whole goal here is to try to just have a conversation and get to know you. So that's what I'm going to start off by doing with the students here today, and then we'll bring in the coaches who have some really unique and interesting perspectives on it all, I think. And Ava's the youngest. I figured why not make her go first? So we'll go in order of the career journeys here, because I thought let's talk to somebody who's in high school, and then we'll talk about someone who's looking toward graduation, and then we'll talk college, and then we'll come back and talk influences, okay? So no pressure, Ava, but as we said in the introduction, a junior, right? At O'Gorman High School. Okay, let's test out that mic. How's it working?
Can you hear it?
There you go.
Okay.
Whoop, now I lost it. Yeah, so we're figuring this out. Where did you grow up? What brought you to Sioux Falls? Have you always been here, or tell me a little bit about your history?
So, I was born in Minneapolis, but my dad, he got a really great opportunity here. So we came down here. I was like 6 years old. I started elementary school here, first grade. I went to St. Mary's, had a wonderful experience at that school, and then I went through O'Gorman Junior High, and now I'm at the high school.
Okay, so Sioux Falls is pretty much what you remember of growing up. So junior in high school, 16?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So what's it like to be 16 in Sioux Falls, first of all? I want to talk about the community. What's it like for you to live here? What do you like to do for fun? And then we'll talk about the school stuff.
Well, it's really great. You know, Sioux Falls, it's big, but not so big that it's hard to do stuff. We have a lot of beautiful places to visit, a lot of shops, a really nice downtown. It's clean, it's safe. I'd say for me, the thing I love most about our city is just how safe I feel in it.
Excellent. That's a key thing that we want to have happen here. So I'm glad that you feel that way. So when you talk about school, are there certain areas that you've gravitated to? I mean, you're a junior, so no one's expecting you to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. But are there some areas that have been more interesting to you?
Yeah, so I've always, gravitated towards math. I love to write. I love to read. And since a very young age, I've always considered a career in law. And when I mean young, I mean first grade career day, I was a lawyer.
Oh,
Second
wow.
grade, I was a lawyer every year.
Okay, so that's a little rare, right, to have that kind of focus. And this is still the plan, the goal,
Yep.
right? Okay. So are there some things that you've been able to do so far in high school that have set you up for that?
Oh, definitely. Our writing program at O'Gorman, it's rigorous. They have us writing essays all the time. And I think that's definitely helped because as a lawyer, I'm going to be doing a lot of writing. I'm going to have to balance my time very well. I also write for the newspaper to get a little extra experience, and I absolutely love it. Going and finding the information, writing a story, seeing people read it and enjoy it makes me very happy.
I'm not biased at all on that point, but that's a great avenue to pursue. And when you look at careers then, have you had a job? Have you volunteered so far? What has that looked like for you?
So at O'Gorman, I do a lot of volunteering. We do a lot of community service because one of the things they encourage is getting involved in our community, inspiring empathy, helping others. So since I was really young, I've been a participant in the Minnesota Twin Study at the University of Minnesota. It's just a way that I, as a twin, can, give back to my community. They do very valuable stuff with the information we give them. I also help my neighbors a lot. I have a lot of older neighbors in my neighborhood. They always can use a little help. They're very nice people, so I'm very glad to do it.
Those people skills, we love that. You're building that even through
And I
helping out.
tutor a lot of younger kids. You know, I've always done very well in school. I've always liked learning. It's something I enjoy, so I like to help other people learn. You know, seeing people really understand something makes me feel good. So also over the summer in May, my sister and I, we actually went on Bill Zortman's show and we talked about an initiative to bring flowers to the South Dakota Veterans Cemetery for Veterans Day. You know, that's a really important day, and that's the only cemetery that actually hasn't been adopted by an organization to have people bring flowers, despite it being named the South Dakota Veterans Cemetery. You know, I love my country, I love my city, so I definitely want to make sure those people are remembered properly.
Well, fantastic. What a great initiative. And, you know, it shows that in Sioux Falls, you can do something like that and make it your own, regardless of whether you're still in school or you're a young professional, whatever your career stage may be. We'll come back and talk more about career, I think, in a little bit. But, you know, right now, I'm sure you're looking toward college. I bet we have people representing some of our area universities here in the room today. What are you looking for in your college?
You know, in my college, I'm looking for something that's definitely, it's going to get me into the workforce and get me into the workforce, you know, with a good start. You know, I think not just for me, but my generation, we kind of don't want to have to start off with working so many hours that we can't have a proper work-life balance. I think that's a big thing with this generation. You know, you're seeing the cost of living, it's rising, you're seeing inflation, and so in order to support that, a lot of people have to pick up more hours, whether it's just a job in college or whether it's a job after you're out of college. A lot of people are having to put in a lot more hours than they should, and they're not able to properly take care of themselves.
Okay, that's an interesting perspective for sure. All right, we're going to come back to you. I feel like you could just skip and go right to law school. So clearly a very bright future ahead for her, right? Chevelle, who brought her cheering section, and very nice of Roosevelt to step up and support you being here today. Tell me a bit about your story. Where are you from originally? Are you a lifelong Sioux Falls resident?
No, I'm not originally from here. I moved here about 4 years ago. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington. So, I mean, far away, but it's nice here.
Yeah.
It's different. I like it.
And so that was high school, right? Your whole high school was here.
Basically,
Good.
yeah.
What are your impressions of Sioux Falls? What do you like about it?
It's a lot better, honestly. You have a lot more opportunities. Like, it's a different experience. It's small, but it's rising. It's getting bigger.
Mhm.
It's definitely different than a bigger city. So I do like that.
Okay, great. And then how have you been able to get involved in school? What kind of subject areas do you find yourself particularly interested in?
I really like science. I like everything that has to do with the human body. I really like those things, but I just like to take opportunities. I like to take that step. I like to say yes. I like to get out there. So that's the way that I try to get involved in my school and everything. If you just say yes, there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Great. And have you had a job yet, or have you volunteered?
Yes, I have a job at the Boys and Girls Club. I've also job shadowed for careers that I've wanted to do as well.
Okay. Tell me about your work at Boys and Girls Club. What do you like about working there?
I like to see the minds of little kids grow. Like you see from 14 weeks all the way up to pre-K, you help them build up. You see the community, you see the kids that you're raising. You're changing somebody's life. It's nice to see kids so happy to come learn, so happy to be there with their friends. It's a great thing to see, and I mean, those are our future. I mean, they're coming up there to
So
be a
impact.
part of us.
You like to feel like you're making an impact, like you're making a
Yes.
difference.
Most
which is
definitely,
a
yes.
theme, I think, too,
Yeah.
for all of us, right? But for generationally too.
Yes.
Okay, not to put you on the spot here, but what do you think about your boss?
Well, I'm just
Because
joking.
this is important for
Yes.
those of us who need to help lead your generation.
I honestly love my boss. I love everybody that is around me in that place. They only want to see you do great. We can have a conversation that might seem a little scary to have. We might have a little bit of discussions about what things could change, what not could change. We have different views, but we can have those conversations. They truly do care about the person that you are, what goes on in your life. It's just not just a job. It's a place that you would want to be, where you would want to work. And
They're
that's
asking
what I
you
like.
They're asking you those questions.
Yeah,
They're having those conversations
yes,
with you.
exactly.
Do you feel like that makes you want to stay longer?
Yes, I would love to stay. Honestly, it's a great career. It's something that I would like, but I don't want to do that for the rest of my life, but I do
Sure.
think it's a really good job.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great. That's super helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
Morgan, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking a little break from college life. So, Augustana, tell me how you got there. What was the path?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there you
okay. I did a lot of college exploration with Miss Fetty, my Roosevelt JAG teacher, and through JAG, which is Jobs for America's Graduates. We just got to like explore a lot of careers and kind of learn what we like to do. And so we also got to look at a ton of different colleges, and the ones we went to I liked, but it didn't fit me. I wanted something closer to home, and so I chose Augustana.
Okay, and so you're a Roosevelt graduate then?
Yes.
Up through that. Employers, if you're not familiar with the JAG program that she mentioned, it's really impressive, and it's growing here locally. Was there something about that experience that resonated with you and made you say, this is it, this is my path, this is why Augustana is a good fit for me?
Yes, I just feel like getting to know Augustana and the campus and seeing what it's all about and their values, it just made me really want to go there. So.
And how's it going so far? I know a whole month into it, right, or whatever that is.
It's definitely an adjustment. A lot of homework compared to high school. I feel like I'm still learning time management and sleep schedule, but I like it a lot.
And then what's the big goal? What's the career goal coming out of college?
I'm majoring in elementary education, so I want to be an elementary teacher.
Oh, fantastic. We definitely need that. So what drew you to the career?
What was that?
What was it that drew you to that career path?
Oh, since I was in kindergarten, I've always looked up to my teachers and always wanted to be a teacher. My kindergarten teacher, Miss Bork, she would always like let me do a little teacher stuff with her and kind of like pretend that I'm a teacher too. Okay. And it made me really want to do it.
So that a lot of things kind of clicked early for a number of you then, which is fortunate, not always the case, but good when it does. And same thing, do you hold a job now? What does your work experience look like?
I work at Life Change Learning Center, which we just changed our name from Sioux Falls First to Life Change, and it's a after-school program, kind of like Chevelle, and I love it there too.
So then same thing when we look at the people that you've worked for, you know, what stands out? What's made a good boss versus maybe somebody who doesn't engage you as much?
Oh, our community is great. Like, you would never want to leave once you get into there because everyone that you meet is so nice and you just want to stay and you like make lifelong friendships there. And my boss just really helps us cultivate that.
Yeah, so you're talking about the whole work group. So you're talking about culture of the organization.
Yeah, work
right?
culture.
What kind of culture? How would you describe working there? What are some of the things that stand out?
Uplifting and definitely flexible and supportive of my needs. Like, I can take work off for college and my boss supports it. So I love that. And she's very flexible with my schedule.
Yeah, so just supportive environments. But I'm hearing kind of this theme of motivating and wanting to lift you up from all of you, which ties fittingly to the topic of our conversation, you know, which is influences. So coaches, I'm going to come to you. Coach Hendo, you're next to me. I'll start. React to what you've heard from these students. What is your reaction to this, and how does it maybe complement what you're seeing on your campuses?
Well, what stands out to me, I guess, is that you know, culture and character still matters to these young people.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talk about a reset with the workforce and the changing times, but at the end of the day, it still comes back to what character do you have and how do you make people around you feel? You could tell their experiences right now that the people they're working for, they're flexible, they're caring, they still want what's best for them. And I think when you can work, whether you're a workforce or a team like Coach O and I, when you can create a culture that's together, that stands for high, you know, character values. Ours, we have 5 character traits we talk about all the time: honesty, respect, selflessness, communication, and compete. And I still feel like when you can stay connected, feel part of that community or culture, that still is so important in creating value. They all seem to feel very valued in what they're doing right now. And so that's what stands out to me right now for when I listen to them.
Yeah, for sure. Coach O, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I think we could have ended it just having the kids talk.
Right, I know.
With them.
I think that's amazing, and that's what, as coaches, you know, we get to deal with, you know, young men in our scenario that are 18 to 22 years old. right? And those
Right.
are very developmental years.
Yes.
But I keep hearing in society that, well, we're in trouble, this is coming. I love the focus of what this was about, how we talked about reset. And we're communicative by nature and
Right.
getting things together. When I listen to these young ladies speak, I hear hope. I hear about a bunch of kids that got it together and
Right.
realized that this is where I'm at right now, but this is where I want to be, and this is how I want to get there. You know, and our young men, at least in our program, see themselves in their current state and what they want to project to be, but that's a process.
Right.
You know, everybody's got to go through a process, and I think if the culture is strong, whatever work environment you're in, whatever career or profession that is out there, if the guide rails are up of here's how we're going to be consistently good, I think out of a leader you look at a couple things then, you know, well, how can I adapt to that, and how can I thrive through that environment to be the best version of me that shows up every day in a communicative nature, to raise the bar for everybody else around me. I think that's, you know, what I heard and what we aspire to.
Yeah, you know, I think there's this perception about your generation, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but that they're all on screens. They don't like to communicate. You know, they struggle with it. And yet what I'm hearing from you is that it is the human element in your workplaces that matters so much. And maybe because we're all lacking a little more of that one-on-one connection, given that so much of life is digital, that when you show up in a workplace and you get that, it's a difference maker. So I'm going to go back to the students here. And Morgan, how about we start with you this time? And I want to talk specifically about what does motivate you. What causes you to want to show up? Because I think some employers would say that's half the battle. They don't even show up and then step up and want to stay somewhere. Are there some things that have stood out to you there?
In my workplace?
In the workplace?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely a sense of belonging has stood out to me. And it's like, I feel supported and accepted at work. And I feel like if you're not belonging at work, you don't want to be there, and you don't have pride in your work. If you don't feel like your boss and your coworkers are all uplifting each other and all accepting each other and supporting you when you need help, I feel like that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Are there some things that specifically happen at work that make you feel like you belong there?
Yeah, definitely building relationships. I get involved in a Bible study there, so we get like really close with each other through Bible study, and just seeing how other teachers handle the kids, it kind of inspires me to do better.
Okay, great. So you've got good role models too.
Yes.
In the workplace. Okay. Chevelle, what about you?
I would say like empathy towards everybody there. I feel like empathy is a really big thing that a lot of people need to work on. But when I feel that we have empathy towards our workers, towards our kids, towards families, talking to families, it's very crucial, it's very important, as well as feeling that our personal growths or goals have been recognized when we are helping, going out there, doing different things. It's a very rewarding feeling, and like, as Morgan said, like feeling like you belong there, not like it's just a job, I'm going there, I'm getting a paycheck. It's deeper than that. You want to feel like you have that compassion to be there and want to go there every day. Smile, be happy for those kids or the patients that you have or your coworkers or your bosses. So.
Yeah. Okay. And Ava, I know that you are just starting to get into the work world, but certainly teachers are motivators and leaders, coaches are. You know, what have you found that those leadership figures do that helps motivate you?
You know, for sure. I think both Morgan and Chevelle brought up amazing points, and I'd like to add passion. I think a passionate leader makes all the difference. You know, I'll bring up my math teacher as an example. He's a wonderful math teacher, loves math, and that's why his students do so well, myself included, because he's passionate about teaching. I care about the subject. I care about how I do in that class. It's, you know, more than just showing up. So I think when you have a good leader, it's not like you're just working, you're working towards a goal.
Yeah, that is such a good point. I mean, you know, passion is king, but even attitude, right? I mean, how many of us in the workplace sometimes, you know, we're not feeling the most motivated or excited to be there. So if we're not showing that, it's harder to expect that our team members might reflect it, right? Well, coaches, let's keep going down the line. We'll start with Coach O. I mean, this is what you do, try to motivate young people to improve and to give their best. Are there some techniques that you have found with this current generation maybe that are particularly effective?
There are actually, and it continues to change. But for me, what I have found is I have to look at myself first. I have to look at myself and my staff and what environment are we putting them into if we're going to ask things of them. I think number one, I got to be authentic. They have to see me as the real me, and that's 24/7, 365. Along with that comes consistent. I have to be consistently showing up as that individual. I can't be Jekyll one day and Hyde the next. They have to see the ideals that we want in our program should be really established by me and by my staff, so they know where the parameters are for success. And then they got to see we care. I mean, we just spoke about that right now. Empathy, passion. They got to know that they're cared about. Lou Holtz had a great saying years ago, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's a big piece of the work environment. You're going to get paid for the number of hours you bring in, but the value really comes for what you bring to that hour. And I tell our guys that all the time. You got to come to practice in order to be a part of this team. Yeah. But what version of you comes to practice is probably going to come out in a game setting. And Coach Hendo and I were talking about this earlier. 99.9% of my players are going to be professionals in something other than football.
Right.
So what life skills are you learning? What goals, aspirations do you have? And then how can I motivate you? And to be honest with you, I want to inspire guys to overachieve. If this is where your bar was, who's putting that bar there?
Yeah.
That's self-inflicted. And we have a saying in our building, and what we believe in is be the rock, right? You throw the rock in the water, it makes a ripple. Yeah. And that influence change can be bad in a bad decision, good in a good decision, but there's certainly an influence that happens off of that. And that motto all lies by one simple thought process. We are all responsible to hold one another accountable to the standards that we set. And we're all responsible for that. They're responsible to hold me accountable. I'm certainly responsible to hold them accountable. And if we all do that, then the expectation should be success for all of us.
Well, those are great thoughts. Very transferable thoughts, too, from an athletic program to a workplace very easily. Coach Hendo, what do you think? Particular strategies that you think are effective with this generation?
Yeah, I think, like Coach said, being a great example is certainly where it starts. I think you, as a leader of a program or your business, I think you're not too big for any certain job. Making sure you're involved in all aspects, I think, is really important, and just setting a great example. But then the other thing I want to talk about, too, is one thing that I try to do. You talked about it once before, the screen time, right?
Yeah.
All these kids are on their Snapchat, they're on their Facebook, whatever. I don't even know what all these social media things are anymore, right? But what are they getting? They're getting instant feedback all the time. How many likes am I getting? How many comments do I got? Oh, I'm more popular because I got 25 likes, she only got 10, right?
Yeah.
So that instant feedback is so important. And so I think as employers, I think as coaches, we need to understand that. And I've tried really, to make sure our players are getting instant feedback, right? And understanding where they're at. And the type of feedback I think is really important as well. At the end of the day, I'm a teacher, and I love to help young people grow and learn and get better and things like that. But I think if you start off with that feedback, okay, we want something to get better. Well, let them know what they're doing well first. Try to be positive. Try to have that, positivity, because everybody has positive traits, right? So let's start off with that. And then if you need them to get better at something, let's go down that road next. Okay, you're not boxing out here, well, buddy, let's take a look at these clips now. Let's take a look at these clips where you need to do a little bit better at that. So I think that instant feedback that the young people are so used to, and then just trying to be positive and to start, and then trying to use that, the place to learn after that. It's things that I try to use in our program.
That's awesome. And I follow up with that. I think that's awesome. I really do. In fact, thank you, because I need to get dialed in a little bit better.
We all probably need to get better at giving feedback.
But the other
I was
thing
thinking
is,
the same.
When we talked about mental health, and it's a real thing.
Yes, and that's leading directly into my next question. So yeah, expand on what you're seeing there.
We actually are very communicative as a program. We're asking our players, what does that mean to you?
Right.
Explain to me more.
Yes.
Because that's a big
broad
topic.
thing, right? And we talk about how there's all of this increased awareness of mental health, and yet the spectrum of that is huge. So how do you dial in specifically on what maybe needs to be addressed?
We dialed in at the core, and we started asking, explain more. you know, kind of apologetics. Go one more question in, get one more question in, and investing in our lives, right? Knowing that I make plenty of mistakes and I'm not great. We found out a lot of it was about life balance, about time management in life balance, right? So when we start going in, you want to be a successful student, that's going to take X number of hours per week. You know, Coach Henderson might need to study for 4 hours and something that I need to study 8 for. That doesn't mean that the grade's going to change. I need to put 8 in to be as successful as he is in some cases. So what we talked about with time management is prioritize the things that are important to you and then know what you have to do to be minimally successful, right? I have to go to class. I have to eat efficiently. I have to sleep. You know, I have to go to practice. All those things. They were amazed at the number of hours that they saved in between those lost moments when they're just going and scrolling on their phone and lost in a rabbit hole for an hour and a half.
The mindless moments. Well, and I think
up to 8 hours.
We all know this, that the increased prevalence of screen time leads to diminished attention spans, right? We just know this scientifically. So to think that there are issues with focus, that there are issues with time management, this should not surprise anyone. And yet I think you're dealing with it now in a generation that's known nothing but that. Right? And so having to help them along. And are they coachable when it comes to time management? And I ask this on behalf of the employers who are probably wondering that too.
I think a couple things, sorry.
Yeah, no, I wanted you to weigh in as well.
That the gals over here talked about why they liked their job, right? Why they liked their school maybe, is the flexibility and you know, people working from home and the schedules that these young people have. There's so many things that they have going on, so they love that flexibility, right? But I think there's still an important piece that has to, the other word is accountability.
Yeah.
Right? You still have a job to do, right? You still have to make sure that you're getting accomplished your goals as an organization or as a program, but as a leader of our team, like, allowing some of that flexibility and not always just being the hammer all the time and have an understanding that other things are going on in their lives, but also making sure they're getting the job done. Making sure our players are held accountable for the things that we stand for or what you have to get done at your job, I think is really important. But as a leader, I think just having an understanding of the flexibility that they want and need is important as well, and that goes back into that mental health piece. We've actually hired a mental health coach for the very first time in our program this year, just to allow our players to have that access to somebody else other than a coach to speak to, you know, and we still have great conversations with our players, and that's something that I love is that relationship, but just having another avenue to speak to that they don't think will affect their playing time, because no matter how close we are, I'm still their coach, or I'm still my kid's dad. Just having that somebody else where they don't feel judged or don't feel that it's going to affect them in their job or at home or whatever. That's something that we've just started, and hopefully we'll see the rewards for that, and more importantly, our guys will benefit from it. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we've talked enough about you. Let's go back to talking to you now about some of your perceptions on all of this. I want to, begin by acknowledging that we bring our whole selves to work, right? We bring our whole selves to school, and I think that we collectively as a business community have done a better job recognizing that, but there's still probably more that we can do. Ava, I'll start with you on this one. We'll just work down the line. As far as, when we talk about those unique, we can talk about mental health needs. I think we could talk about values too, everything that makes you kind of your whole self. Are there some things that you feel like stand out, maybe for you or even for your peers, things that you're hearing from your friends that are key to their life that also will matter when they get into the workplace? Ways that they're looking for support or what they're looking for when they choose a place to work.
For a lot of my classmates, I know they value, a social aspect to a job, being able to communicate with others, work with others. And that's where I think, actually people would like going to actually a place to work. Working at home is nice, but then there's not that social aspect. You don't get to meet your colleagues, meet your boss. And I think part of every good job is you're not going to do well if you don't know the people you work with, A lot of class success depends on knowing your teacher. How does your teacher grade? What do they like? But if you don't go to school, you don't meet your teacher, you don't know what they want, you don't know what they expect from you, and you can't succeed.
You feel a lot more disconnected, I suspect, too. Right, so you don't always want to be able to do something just through your phone or, over a video platform. That one-on-one interaction is important. Chevelle, I feel like you're very involved in school too. You probably hear from a lot of your classmates. Are there some themes that are kind of bubbling up as far as what's important to them or what they're looking for support with?
I feel like, social media, being on our phones is a big thing. Like, we're so tied to it, but I feel like we're getting out of it. Yeah, we still use it, we still have it, but I feel like we're trying to find ways to use social media, but also get out there, building them together, those type of things, but also taking time for ourselves, because when we're so involved in school, it takes a lot of your time, a lot of different things, but you also take that time for yourself, but you also want to grow as a person. So I feel like we like to communicate with people, we like to be around people as much as it might seem like we don't because of the social media, the likes, what we like to see. But when we intertwine it, making it one thing, it helps us grow and it makes us better people.
Right. Morgan, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with those two. I feel like social media is not totally as bad as everyone says it is. I feel like it's a good way to intake information and a good way to get involved. And I feel like as a generation that really does use screens, I feel like that we crave that social interaction and that physical face-to-face conversation because we don't get it all the time. And I think it's a good way to access involvement through social media.
I almost feel like that pendulum maybe is starting to swing ever so slightly. If we're recognizing that maybe we don't want to be on a screen all the time, or maybe we do want to be in an office. It's just interesting to sort of hear that coming up a bit too. One thing I hear, I'll go back to that coaches quick here, I hear from a lot of employers is the soft skills, and they're just struggling with the soft skills when it comes to their youngest workers. This is something that you coach probably, either intentionally or not. But what's your take on that? How are they coming in with the soft skills, and what's some advice as far as trying to strengthen those?
Yeah, I think a couple things I'll say. Like, I was fortunate enough to go to the Green Bay Packers. So if there's Packers fans or Vikings fans, probably more Vikings fans, but I went to a Green Bay Packers practice. And what stood out to me, I don't know anything about football. Yeah. This guy does, but I don't. But what really stood out to me was Jordan Love makes $70 million a year or whatever it is. What really stood out to me was how he was the best teammate on the field. He gave more high fives. He made his teammates feel better than anybody else. And so what I'm saying is, especially to you young people in here, like, just because somebody makes this much money or whatever, be engaged. Make others around you, celebrate other people's successes, and make others feel better about themselves. It's not all about you. And it goes back to that soft skills. If you can make others around you feel better, that creates that culture. That the communication skills are so important. And they don't have to be rah, rah, rah anymore. Like Jordan Love, I don't know if I heard him talk, but I know he gave more high fives than anybody else. Yeah. That's communication. Yep. Yeah. That's making others feel good. We've practiced 2 times. We started practice yesterday, and then we practiced at 6 o'clock this morning. And we didn't talk any X's and O's. I showed him 2 things. I showed him bad body language. I showed him where the palms were up, and they're like, what is going on? What'd you do? Instead of palms down, we talk about palms down. Calm people down instead of palms up. Palms up is like, that's terrible body language. Palms down, you're bringing people together. And then we talked about hustle plays. What's that? That's just work. At the end of the day, to be successful, whether you're young, you're old, whatever, been in the workforce for a long time or not, you still have to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still have to, it's still going to be hard. Right. You still have to do your job. But if you can have a good attitude, great body language, make others around you feel better, and then work really, really hard, that's a great start.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a great start.
It is called work for a reason. Sometimes we need to just remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's it right there. Yeah. We talk a lot about work ethic, which I think needs a big kick in the boom right now in our society, based off of what we're talking about, right? How much can I get off? I was the CEO of a YMCA for 6 years, and in one of the interviews I had, a young person came in, and they were had good experience coming out of college and very good things, but the first question that was asked of me before the interview started was, how much time do I get off and how much do I have to be here? Not a great first question, students. Okay? As talented as that was, that moved it down the list.
Yeah.
Regardless of the talents, I oversaw that. So we talk about work ethic, number one. What are you willing to bring of your best self, your authentic self? What are you willing to bring to the table every day? And then the servant leadership piece, which is what Coach Henderson is just speaking about. Body language, how you care, the things that go into that. Talent is developed. Sometimes it's God-given, but it's developed also. And I think as I talk to our young men now about going into the workforce, you will be able to overachieve over other people just by a solid work ethic and ability to show up every day as the best you and continue to raise your bar of what you want, because some just are okay with where it is. And that's just fine. That's just fine if everyone is there. But I tell our guys, if you really want to be your personal best, find a way to show up as that every day and what motivates you. And servant leadership is a great way to do it. Yeah. To just say, I don't ask any of my staff or players to do anything I'm not willing to do. And I know he doesn't, because I know enough people that know him. If they see that out of me, walk around campus, pick up a piece of paper, take it in the garbage can, rocks or something. It's the way my parents taught me, but I know I've never been outworked a single day in my life. And I just want our guys to know that you can have a great balance and time off, but when you're present, be present and give the best version of yourself.
Yeah, students, he just gave you some great advice there. We do have a few minutes left. Does anyone have a question for the students, for the coaches? Look at this packed room.
Yes, I think the Packers are going to win the Super Bowl.
Come on, baby. Let's talk about it.
I didn't know if that was a question or not. Sorry.
You know what? There's time remaining, and you can fill it. I mean, that's just fine by me.
I think it's really great that, and we talked about this on the side, that there's students sitting at tables.
Yes.
And that we have adult leaders here that are students that are looking for what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And if that's in your heart and that's what you want to go after, the world is your pearl right now. I mean, you can literally overcome a lot of things and succeed in ways that others aren't willing to do. I think more at this time than any time in my lifetime. And I'm honest with you. That's what I'm telling our players. You have a faster track for immediate success and long-term success than I've ever experienced, just because you can get after it and some people aren't willing to do that. Yeah. So I just think it's great that this is happening, number one, and number two, that there's a lot of wisdom out there. My dad became a lot smarter when I turned 22.
All right, Coach is saying we have a question down there. Yes, he's right. All right, do we have a microphone out? Otherwise, project up for me. So the question is around the instant feedback and wondering about how does that dovetail with this idea that maybe we all just need to slow down, maybe work on patience. That would be one element of it, and understand that just because you didn't hear back immediately, doesn't mean that something's wrong, and doesn't mean that we don't appreciate you. So coaches, how do you walk that line?
Yeah, I mean, I respect what you're saying, and I understand. Like, the way I look at it is this: I try to create an environment. I try to create our players, our student athletes. I want them to have a positive self-esteem, a feel good about themselves. I want them to really have that feeling. And to me, I guess, benefit, you got to weigh it a little bit sometimes. And for me, I don't want our guys going throughout the day wondering where they stand. Like, oh, man, because to me, I think people are at their best when they have a free mind. When they have a free mind, when they're not thinking about, oh, is coach mad at me? Coach doesn't think I'm a very good player. If they don't know. Yeah. And same with if they don't. If let's say she's working in her after school program or the Boys and Girls Club, and they have a situation that they didn't know how it went, it was a little iffy, and they don't hear feedback instantly, that she's going to go home that night and she's going to think about it. It's going to bother her. She's not going to sleep very good. She might not eat, whatever, some things like that. So I respect what you're saying, and I agree patience is a beautiful thing, and I'm working on that too. But to me, I just think that instant feedback provides freedom of mind sooner.
Yeah.
And I like that, I guess, for our players.
Yeah. I do want to quick close by going back to the students and acknowledging that, despite everything that we can do as a workplace, the community has a role to play too, and the community has a role in your decisions to stay here long-term or not. Maybe Morgan, I'll go back and start with you. We'll end with Ava. Give me your impressions of Sioux Falls as a place to live today, as a young professional. What do you want to see from this community in order to keep you here?
Maybe more opportunities. I feel like we have plenty of opportunities. Just bring your business to schools and have them present themselves to the upcoming workforce. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of businesses out there that we don't even know about.
Yes.
So just introduce yourself to us. Like, call up the school. Miss Fetty, she always had people coming in and out of our classroom talking to us about their business, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about half that stuff, so
Yep.
it'd be nice to know.
That's a great point. I'm sure there's businesses that could be doing more on the college campuses. Chevelle, what do you think? What do you want to see in Sioux Falls?
Going back to what Morgan said, being a part of JAG, getting to know those careers, like even since I want to be in healthcare, knowing that there's so many different places that we didn't know. People have so many different likings, what careers they want. If we get a step to know about those careers, what different ones, we could go out there and we can do that. And I feel like as a whole, like the state is growing. It is, and back to what Ava said, it's very clean, it's very nice, it's a good place to be. So just having those opportunities, stepping out there, you guys coming to us, opening up our eyes, doing hands-on things, will want us to be there, and knowing about that career will make us want to be in that force.
Great thoughts. Ava, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think Morgan and Chevelle brought up really good points. Students don't know what they don't know. We don't know if a business exists until we know it exists. Sioux Falls has a lot going for it. It's an expanding city. We're seeing a lot of businesses come in, expand, grow. So I think looking at the future, there's a lot of room for growth of workforce. So I think it's a good place to stay if you really want to consider the future. I know that a lot of people have extended family here, so there's also like that small town aspect that just feels like home.
Yeah, and that's an important feeling for you too. And I just want all three of you to stay here, as I'm sure the rest of you in this room would agree. So I hope that we can deliver that for you in Sioux Falls. I want to thank you for sharing your stories today. Thank you, coaches. Please help me thank the panelists. All right. And now I think it is my role to introduce and greet Dana Dykhouse, who will be moving us along with our program. Dana's a good friend. He's the CEO of First Premier Bank. You all, students, if you have a chance to learn from Dana at any point or to even just come say hello today, I would encourage you to do that. And Dana will lead us into our keynote speaker, I'm guessing, right? All right, great to see you. You bet.
Well, good morning, and this is truly a privilege for me to introduce our keynote speaker. But before I do that, I think one more round of applause for Coach O and Coach Hendo and our students. What an outstanding job of talking about that. And I would be remiss if I did not take just a moment with all the students in attendance today to say one thing that hasn't been said yet. We want you and we need you in Sioux Falls and South Dakota. No matter where your life may lead you, whether you stay here for your education or your life journey takes you somewhere else, whether you begin your career here in Sioux Falls and South Dakota or somewhere else, we as a business community want you to know that you are wanted and you are needed right here in South Dakota, and there is no better place for you to raise your family, to enjoy your career, and enjoy all the benefits that South Dakota has. I believe that firmly, and I want to make sure that all our students have that message and you carry that with you your whole life. You are wanted and needed right here in Sioux Falls in South Dakota. Well, it's rare to find a true Renaissance man anymore, but that's what you get with Ben Utek. Someone this morning said he was a culture coach, and I love that term. We talked a lot about culture this morning, and Ben is going to talk to us a little bit about culture. A mentor of mine once said that culture is going to happen, but you purposely need to make certain that you create the culture you want within your business. Ben has always chased his dreams, finding his way to from a small river town in Minnesota to become a Super Bowl champion with the Indianapolis Colts. Whether he has also become a singer with major symphonies, serenading Muhammad Ali on his 70th birthday, and stepping into a national advocacy role. Ben has found success in many realms. He has honed his already keen speaking abilities at the University of Minnesota, where he graduated with a degree in communications and even started a master's degree in sports management before being swept up to the NFL. He has established himself as a prominent national leader and motivational speaker for corporations, conventions, and nonprofit events. Both of his programs, the Champions Way and the MVP program, stem from lessons he learned in the locker room with Hall of Fame coach Tony Dungy and in a huddle with former future Hall of Famer Peyton Manning. The Champions Way spotlights and breaks down the 4 L's of leadership: listening, learning, language, and love. The MVP program comes from Ben's experience and concussions and inspires the audience to truly care about their minds and discover the identity of their memory. Both programs illuminate dynamic ways to succeed in business life. I believe as a speaker that vulnerability equates connectivity. This is the way I approach my keynote presentations, with a mission of bringing you an emotional journey through life and into the Hall of Fame huddle and onto the field of high-impact lessons. All of our lives tell a story, and this is how I'm going to tell mine, says Ben. As an influential advocate for brain health, Ben served as the national spokesperson for the American Academy of Neurology and currently sits on the prestigious board of the American Brain Foundation. Ben has been given the AAN's most esteemed honor, the Public Leadership in Neurology Award, in 2014. Also at this time, Ben released a music video and his song, "You Will Always Be My Girls," written with the love letter to his wife and his daughters, with the goal of emotionally connecting people to the importance of their memories. The video has impacted the lives of many, gathering 1.1 million YouTube views to date. Ben can now add author to his resume with the release of his new book, Counting the Days While My Mind Slips Away, published by Simon & Schuster. The book is a memoir of the former NFL player who left the game as a result of concussions. It takes the reader on a heartfelt journey through the ups and downs of Ben's life with faith, family, and football. Ben's has a message of hope that has reached a nationwide audience, inspiring people of every level to enjoy the moment to their fullest. Counting the Days While My Mind Sleeps Away is available in hardcover, on ebook, and audiobook formats wherever books are sold. Join me in welcoming Ben Utek to the stage this morning.
I'm back into a corner now, and I will fight How y'all doing? Good? Dana, you read the whole biography, man. It was awesome. You should come on the road with me. No, it's always a little embarrassing hearing people talk about you from stage like that. I'm so excited to be here with y'all. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and spend some time with you. I've had a great opportunity to get to know Denise over the last week. We had a great conversation recently. She really wants all of you to truly have an NFL experience, okay? So here's what I'm going to do. Afterwards, we've got a lot of room in the back. If you want, I will hit you as hard as I possibly can. I mean, my career ended due to concussions, and I feel like every single one of you should experience one so that you know. I'm just kidding. The HR execs are going, oh no. Oh no, you don't. I'm going to have to write you up for that. Man, it has been such a unique journey for me. I'll start first with one of the last pictures you saw. Most importantly in my life, I'm a family man. And for some reason, the good Lord in all of his wisdom thought that I needed to have 4 daughters. What? Y'all pray for me like whenever you can, please. Please just pray for me. Hey, Denise, do we still have those charitable buckets for the UTech wedding fund that we can pass around the room? Because it's going to be really expensive, you guys. Really expensive. You know, I like to joke because it's still a mystery how I went from my first career where my job was to hit people first to now a career where my job is to care about people first. Go figure. Complete 180-degree turn. But that's the world I want to bring you into today. I had an incredible college career and professional career playing 4 years with the Indianapolis Colts. Blessed to be on a Super Bowl championship team. Then went to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunately, my career did end due to concussion. But it taught me a lot. And then I found my way into this passion for culture, which we'll talk a lot about today. But that role grew from being an inspirational speaker about culture into being invited into a C-suite position as a chief culture officer. And I've actually spent quite a bit of time here in Sioux Falls over the last couple of years. The company that I'm a chief culture officer for in Minneapolis is True North family of companies. So we own 28 companies across 6 different industries. And one of those organizations is the Sioux Falls Canaries. So how about that? Go Canaries, right? They're having a great season this year, which is really exciting. And also Dakota Land Transportation. So I've been in the area a number of times over the last year. Have an opportunity to work with another great company tomorrow, Showplace Cabinetry here. So Sioux Falls is doing some incredible things. And I just want to echo what the coaches and the students who did such a great job, didn't they? The students and the way they were able to communicate. But it's awesome to hear that you're talking about what I believe is really the most important aspect of organizations, and that is culture. And that is culture. I was blessed to be on a team with 5 Hall of Famers, from Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison, to our head coach, Tony Dungy, to our general manager, Bill Polian. And it taught me so much about how important culture is. You see, Tony Dungy was the first to win a Super Bowl built on what's called servant leadership. He believed that if you built better men, you would get better football players. That culture is the human condition at work. Why is it that we talk about the human condition as a soft skills? Does that annoy anybody else in this room? The human condition, what we believe, how we behave, are the hardest skills you can possibly access in the workplace. Tony Dungy was the first to teach me that culture doesn't have to be subjective. that culture can be an objective tool. Because there's one truth that comes out of the academia, which says you will have a culture by design or default. Every community in the world, whether it's an organization, a sports team, or a cultural community, will have a culture by design or default. So if that's true, why not design it? Why not take a different approach to culture? Why not disrupt the typical flow of mission, vision, and value statements? Value statements are incredibly important. But friends, when you really dig into industrial psychology, the experts say that every culture on the planet comes out of the espoused beliefs, assumptions, and artifacts of the community. What word's not in there? Values. And so what often happens in organizations is we go through the checklist. We do our mission, vision, values. We talk for hours about what we believe in. We identify inspirational and aspirational words that we throw onto a website. And then we just pray that all of our team members are going to behave in a manner reflective of those values, without any type of objective strategy or system around how do we develop those values in our people. Can you believe that I learned all this through an NFL locker room? So let me ask one question about one of the elephants in the room. How many of you in here today are not NFL fans? Who's got the courage? Come on. See? Good. Thank you. Thank you. And it's completely okay. So when you saw me as the speaker, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to sit through an NFL storyteller today. But let me just speak to you for a moment, and this is for everybody in the room. Yes, we're going to talk about sports, and sports does have some incredible crossovers, but I want to remind you of something. Sports are a business. Professional sports are a specific business. Can anybody tell me what business model is the NFL? What business model is the NFL? Is it manufacturing? No. Is it product distribution? No. Is it what's the business model of the NFL? Anybody? Entertainment, that's the industry. But what is the actual business model? It's a franchise. Right? You guys I know you've heard that term before, but you've never really connected it to, let's say, a Chick-fil-A or a Taco Bell, but the NFL is a franchise. And what makes every franchise successful is its operating system. The more objective and detailed and perfected the operating system, the more scalable the brand. Okay, so not only do I hope to inspire everybody through sports, but I also want you to understand that part of what makes culture a movement and grow is when we take an objective approach to it, when we turn it from a directing strategy over the organization into systems that you can actually practice in order to develop the beliefs and the values that represent those beliefs in our people. Right? So that a movement of culture can flow across the organization. And every movement, by design, comes out of the intrinsic beliefs of an individual or a community. So are you willing to go on this journey with me today? Okay? I want to take you into the huddle, onto the sidelines, and hopefully inspire you to look at culture through a unique lens. A culture that can be designed, that can be distributed, directed across an organization. It was February 4th of 2007. There was a cool Miami, Florida mist filling the Dolphin Stadium for Super Bowl 41. It was one of only 2 Super Bowls in the history of football to rain. And I can tell you, when you're losing in the rain, it sucks, right? I mean, all the mud and the cold water and wet, it gets into everything, right? On these new fields, right? It's no longer mud. You've got all those little rubber pellets that are part of the new NFL fields. Well, those get even in other areas, when you're rolling around. And so when you're losing, it's not fun. But when you're winning, man, when you're winning, it's like being in the backyard with your friends when you were growing up, and it's pouring, and you're getting muddy, and even the mud tastes good when you're winning, right? Prince played at halftime. Prince sang Purple Rain in the rain. I mean, you can't ask for something more magical than that. And if you've never actually seen it, you need to go back and watch it. It's the greatest halftime show in the history of Super Bowls. And you can go back and watch it. And there's this documentary where Prince was being told, you can't go onto a fiberglass stage when it's raining with an electric guitar. And he said, there's nothing you can do to keep me off that stage. And he just went out and killed it. You guys got to go check that out. But it was a very special Super Bowl. Well, what had ended up happening was my dad fought his way halfway around the stadium to find himself in the perfect location, in the tunnel where the Colts were lining up. And as a team, we're standing behind the ref. He's doing his best to hold us back. All of a sudden, he gets the signal. We're ready to go. He drops his hands, and he releases the Colts. We fly out of that tunnel. I plant my foot perfectly on that fresh Super Bowl field in Miami, and I hear this familiar voice, Ben, Ben, Ben. And I turn, and there was my dad. My dad was literally hanging over the railing, like legs up in the air, to be in this moment with his son. And wouldn't you believe, in that moment, my first reaction to seeing my dad was to shoo him away like a pesky fly. I was like, Dad, it's the Super Bowl. Like, I gotta go to work. Okay, not now. How oftentimes do we get distracted in life by things that don't matter as much as we make them matter? And we walk away from what we believe, right? I took one more step forward, and I kid you not, it was like I got sucker punched. And I heard this voice say, go back. Go back to your father. Go back to your dad. Go back to where it all began. And I stopped, and I felt that, and I physically stopped, and I turned, and my dad had already started to walk back up the stairs, you guys, and I ran back to him. It was just like a movie. I ran back to him, and I was like, Dad, Dad. And he heard my voice. He came back down the stairs, reached over, and I grabbed his hand, and through tears, I just said, Dad, man, I love you. And it all started with you. And it did. It started with my dad in the backyard of Rochester, Minnesota, where he would get on his knees and he'd let this 4-year-old kid run into him as hard as he possibly could, and he would pretend to just get blown up and fall back on the ground. My dad had a set of beliefs that he poured into my life that have stuck with me to this day. My dad was a pastor, and so he always led with this first one, if you'll permit me. But this was my dad's culture creed, okay? And a creed is defined as a set of beliefs that guide the behaviors and actions of people. It's actually what I help companies build today, is to take their mission, vision, values, and turn it into an organizational creed, which becomes an onboarding and educational training strategy and system for the company to hire towards culture, develop towards culture, right? Even benchmark towards culture. But the first belief was, play for something bigger than yourself, right? Because I believe that when you do that, you produce greatness. Set the bar high, dream, go and play for something bigger than yourself. Work harder than everybody else. You heard Coach talk about that up here, right? No one was going to outwork him. Work harder than everybody else, because I believe hard work develops talent and character. Never, ever stop improving. You can always get better. I believe there is someone who's right behind you. And it's just true in sports. The average NFL career is 2.5 years. There's always somebody right behind you. So never stop improving. And most importantly, Ben, have fun. Have fun. Because I believe if you love it, if you don't love it, then what's the point? So these are just examples of non-negotiable beliefs that were taught to me that forever changed the way that I live my life and forever changed the way that I chose value principles to reflect these foundational beliefs. How many of you here in the room, can anybody, just to raise a hand, can you think of something that was taught to you by a teacher or a belief phrase given to you by a parent or a grandparent or a coach that now you're giving to your kids or you've said to your students or your workers? Can anybody relate to that? Yeah, they're here. There are hands, right? We've all experienced that. If you think hard enough, I guarantee every one of you can remember one of those beliefs that guided you. And it all comes down to this. Culture is the human condition at work. And as business owners, CEOs, HR executives, the future of our country with our students, I want you to embrace the magnitude of what you're capable of doing for every person that comes in contact with your brand. When you take culture seriously, more than just words, but as they talked about on stage, practicable behaviors that develop a culture belief system across the organization, you have the chance to pour into people and give them purpose. What does purpose mean? Purpose is what makes us relevant. Purpose is value and its significance. And we have the opportunity every day to be able to develop our beliefs and values in our people and give them more purpose. That is a transformative approach to culture versus looking at culture through conformity. I spent some time with a mentor, Dr. Dan Zismer at the University of Minnesota, a renowned social psychologist, and we wanted to come up with a memorable definition for culture based upon what the academia says about the power of belief and to make it memorable, right? So the rule of threes, culture is what we believe, why we believe, and how we choose to behave. This is really important. It happens every time I sit down with an executive leadership team on a culture workshop. The first question that I go around and ask the leadership team is to have everyone write down how they define culture. And without fail, every time in the same organization that has had the same mission and vision and value statements, everybody at the table defines culture differently. Now, there's a part of that is wonderful. Diversity of thought, we celebrate diversity of thought. But when it comes to the most important strategies and systems that make our companies successful, right, which has to happen so that we can provide jobs, when we focus on those strategies and systems, we have to find alignment. We have to find alignment, right? What a powerful thing to ask an organization if everybody in the room can define what culture is in that organization, and every hand were to be raised. Right? Think about that. Think about what that would do across an organization. Practicing chosen culture wins. We heard that on stage, the importance of practice. Let me just give you a little glimpse into the power of practice, okay? The NFL statistics say this: for every 280 hours that a player practices, they have 1 hour of performance. Let that sink in for a second. For every 280 hours of practice, we perform for 1 hour. The average NFL football game consists of 65 to 75 plays that last on average 6 seconds. If you're a starter on offense and you never leave the field, you only play or perform for between 8 and 11 minutes. in an NFL football production. Isn't that crazy? I mean, you guys are if you're watching the games, you're watching a 3-hour production. But the amount of time that players actually play, if you're a starter, is only 8 to 11 minutes. Even though we spend 16 hours practicing during the week, hundreds and hundreds of plays, in order to play only about 10 minutes on Sunday. Isn't that crazy? What Gallup says about the workplace is very interesting. Gallup says that for every 1 hour of human development practice in the workplace, employees are working 29 hours on average. The reason why we love watching the best in sports, the reason why we love watching the Olympics, is because of practice. You're watching the very best. And they've spent their entire career practicing in order to perform for just glimpses, right? And that's one of our biggest challenges in the workplace, is how do we bring more practice on the human development of the hard skills so that we're actually developing our people towards our beliefs and values, right? So here's a great example of that. Okay, I'm going to show you a quick video clip. This is the Penn State transformation. I don't know if for any of you sports fans, you'll remember what happened to Penn State. There was a huge moral failure by the coaches, and the historic Joe Paterno and his coaching staff had to exit the university, and so they had to focus on culture. They brought in the new coach, James Franklin, and James Franklin was committed to building a culture on integrity and character. But what made him different was, I'm not just going to say values, I'm actually going to develop my players in this. And so he built systems around how to develop that. So check this out. They're in a game against Michigan State. If they win, they're vying for a national championship. And seconds left on the clock, huge upset. And James Franklin notices two of his star players behaving in a manner that was not a part of their objective belief system. And look at how he reacted.
And James Franklin living about something.
National television, millions of people watching. One of their non-negotiable beliefs was, no matter what happens, win or lose, we will be the best sportsmen on the field. We will be the greatest degree of integrity and character. How will we practice that? Every single one of you will walk across the field and go shake the hand of your opponent, no matter what happens. Can you imagine being a head coach and losing a game that takes you out of the national championship? What would you be feeling in that moment? Where would your focus be? How impressive that his focus went right to the culture of the Nittany Lions. And on national television, he goes running after those players, screaming at them to go back and practice what we believe. And because of that, ever since he's been a coach, they have been in the top 10 in the country. Every year having an opportunity to be one of the couple that can make it to a national championship, which means they get more TV time. Which means what for the university? More what? Money. Culture matters. And when we practice it, and when we pour purpose into people, and they give us more commitment and devotion and loyalty, then they work harder. And when they perform better, right, as an organization, we're more successful. I really want you to make the objective connection to that. So let me just quickly take you through the 4 L's. This is the blueprint. These are examples of what our non-negotiable beliefs and values were in Indianapolis and how we made them objective, how we actually practice those as an organization, right? We believe listening builds champions. We believe learning builds champions. We believe language Communication builds champions. And most importantly, we believe love, value, and respect is what ultimately brings us together as a team. You're going to notice the alliteration here that exists that reflects the definition of culture, what we believe, why we believe, and how we behave. So I want you to notice how these beliefs were turned into an objective system. So we're always trying to remove confusion and provide clarity. So we're always going to define what, why, and how, right? Listening, taking notice and acting on what someone says, right? How important that is to be objective so that everybody's in alignment on what it means to be a champion listener. Why? The Simon Sinek why, the power of why. This is the psychology of listening. This is the story of listening. Making sure when you communicate with your team members that you're explaining the why is incredibly important, because that's where the knowledge and the inspiration exists to grow. We as humans have an innate desire to be heard and to be understood. Okay? If I were to ask you the question, what is the most important thing that happens on a football game before every single play that ultimately leads to a score? What's the most important thing that has to happen on a football field before a play that ultimately leads to a score? Anybody? Don't be shy. What'd you say? I thought I heard it. Say it again. The huddle. Awesome. It usually takes a while. So that was pretty fantastic. It's the huddle, right? The huddle happens 65 to 75 times a game, and it's the most important. How many of you stop the football party at home and tell people to be quiet so you can watch the huddle? It just doesn't. You don't think about it, right? It's mundane, but it's the foundation of all language distributed to every single player so that they know exactly what they have to do. It was so important in Indianapolis that we actually had a subculture of the huddle. We created a system for how we practice the huddle, and it was stop, look, and care. Stop, look, and care. Stop is the act of selflessness, giving your leader the stage of speech. So the rule was, the minute Peyton Manning stepped into the huddle, everything stopped. All communication stopped. We're going to give our leader the stage of speech. Look was the pursuit of information, right? Active listening. We were actually evaluated on it on all of our post-game evaluations. And how did they hold us accountable? The blue line on the white helmet. So look at every single offensive lineman. Where is that line pointing? Right at Peyton Manning. The only reason why Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison are leaving is because, as you may know, Peyton Manning is kind of the magician of the audible system. And so they just needed to hear the beginning of that, and he would direct them once they were out there. But we were evaluated on where we were looking on every single play. And lastly, and most importantly, and this was brought up by one of our students, is care. And that is the power of empathy. And empathy is defined as the ability to put yourself in the position of the person that you're working with. And so every single player had to be empathetic towards the role and responsibility of all other offensive players in order to be able to do their job to the best of their ability. And so the how really came down to us determining, our offensive coordinator, Tom Moore, also a Rochester, Minnesota native, how do we take the belief of the importance of listening and turn it into a practicable system, right? And we did that through creating the simply profound process of stop, look, and care, and we practiced it over and over and over again. Whoops. Okay. So what does your huddle look like? What does your huddle look like in life? What does your huddle look like at work? That's my huddle. Do you know how important it is to have good listening skills with 5 women in your life every single day? It is of the utmost importance. And I do, to the best of my ability. I'm by far not perfect, and my wife can tell you that. But I will tell you, like, when I stop, when my daughters come to me and I actually stop, I put down my phone, I close my laptop, and I stop to give them the stage of speech, and then I actually turn and look at them. I actively listen, I pursue them, right? And then I am empathetic towards how they're talking with me. Do you know what that does to the relationship? It increases trust, right? It increases loyalty. I'm showing them that what they have to say matters. It increases value, right? What does that look like in our workplace huddles? Are we spending time coming together? Are we finding opportunities to huddle in the workplace with the people that we work with and to create an opportunity to breathe and to reconnect and to make sure as a team that we're aligned, right? It's important to look at all of this as a practicable opportunity to ultimately build humility in the team, right? The willingness to put others before yourself, practicing servant leadership. I love this acronym for team, total engagement that's aligned by all members, right? Believing that we're stronger together. The huddle matters, and building a culture around how you practice that is important. What does it mean to be a champion learner? The importance of the acquisition of knowledge, the constant pursuit of knowledge, right? So again, what is learning? It's the acquisition of knowledge or skills through experience. Why is it important? Because it practices an attitude and a system of learning that ultimately develops wisdom. I think that there's a lot of stereotypes that as athletes we just go out and play. Right? That there's not actually that much work that goes into running a route or understanding defenses. But I just want you to understand that every single minute of every single day was decided, designed, right, and detailed from the minute we walked in. Right? We start with treatment, everybody taking care of their bodies, breakfast, and a workout to maintain strength throughout the season. Team meeting where we would begin film evaluation and end with a period of asking questions. Offensive meeting where we would install the new game plan, end with film evaluation and a period of asking questions. Then an hour of individual meetings where we would break up into tight end groups and wide receivers and running backs to evaluate more film and end with a period of asking questions. Then we'd have our first opportunity to execute for an hour of the most riveting practice time as we walked through every single play, right? So boring, so tedious, but so important because it allowed us to pursue all of the different things that could potentially happen on a football field. Come in for lunch and work with the media. 1 p.m. is when we would go back into those individual meetings, evaluate the walkthrough film, and end with a period of asking questions, on to 3 hours of execution, where we would have a chance to take all the answers that we learned from the questions and the film evaluation and apply them to how we're practicing on the field, and then ending with another period of film evaluation and ending with a period of asking questions. Every single day. Practicing a system of questions, execution, and evaluation. Our culture of learning was built on a practical and tactical approach to how we pursue knowledge. It starts with questions. Dungy's belief was there are no foolish questions. And as you know, right, whenever we ask people to ask a question, it takes courage, even as adults. Right? We still have insecurities about raising our hand in front of our peers. And so the way that Dungy overcame that through accountability was you have to ask a question. So when we would end with the period of asking questions, everybody had to ask one. That removed all insecurity, and it actually increased the ability to gain more knowledge, right? So execution is practice of the application of the answers received, and then evaluation, the importance of being willing to be evaluated. Because the goal of evaluation should always be the improvement of the human development, right? And so we want to create a system of learning. What does learning look like at home? This is my wife, who just became the president of the Lakeville South Volleyball Booster Club. And at 43, she has now been overwhelmed at having to step back in to what learning really feels like, right? And there have been a tremendous amount of questions and a huge burden of execution, right? And evaluation from peers, all happening again. We're always learning, aren't we? Whether it's us at home or whether it's us in the workplace. But how are we choosing to practice that? How are we choosing to practice the pursuit of knowledge? Right? And so when you think about how you're communicating as teams and when you think about your development opportunities, try to create a culture where questions are celebrated, right? The pursuit of knowledge is exciting. We want people to feel inspired to pursue clarity because it's through asking the right questions that we actually find the right answers that make us successful on the field, which ultimately results in greater wisdom. I often say this, that wisdom is the quality found at the intersection of knowledge and experience, right? It's this kind of paradoxical thing in psychology. How do we actually grow in wisdom? It only comes through the pursuit of knowledge and then you practicing that knowledge, which then through that experience gives you better wisdom to make decisions in the future. In action, the importance of practicing, choosing to behave in a manner that always strives for good. How about language, right? Language is so critical. We like to just make it broader with communication. But in Indianapolis, it was much more micro because of Peyton Manning. So first, what objectively is language in Indianapolis? The principal method of human communication consisting of words used in a structure and in a conventional way conveyed by speech. And it was so important because of what we called the language of Manning. Okay? Like Encyclopedia Britannica was basically what this was. He had literally created his own language on the football field, where every single word, every single hand signal told us exactly what we needed to do. It was so detailed that we had 3 different code words for every single play, every single run, every single route. That way, if the defense caught on to the first, he could switch to another one. If they caught on to the second, he could switch to a third. He had the same for the hand signals, 3 different hand signals for the same play, right? So that he could constantly be communicating with words, telling us exactly what to do, right? So choosing the right words to communicate is the foundation of all information distributed. We love to communicate out of assumption, but the more we can actually build context around our communication, the better we ensure that everybody in the group is understanding it, right? The way that you desire for them to understand it. So, this is my favorite part. I'm going to take you through the language of Manning. So for the next 2 minutes, see if you can figure out what Peyton Manning is saying.
We're going dice right, ice cream, alert, 654, Jose. Okay, 1-0.
Peyton Manning and the Colts run the NFL's most sophisticated offense.
235.
Each play can be called or changed at the line. That forces the Colts linemen to wait and wait until Peyton finally makes up his mind. I wonder if they ever think, just snap the ball.
96 double. Check over the flare,
His goal is not to get the perfect play, it's to get out of a bad play. And more times than not, they do that.
Peyton drops, looks, fires, touchdown, Reggie Ray!
It's a ballet that drives people crazy. You know, as you say, just snap the ball. They'll do it when they're well pleased.
It started way back, kind of, I guess, around my second year with Tom Moore. We kind of sat down and just put some code words together and things that kind of made sense. It has taken off from that.
That's right. Short ox. Richmond, Florida, Buffalo. 97 double. Louisville Soul Train. Big purple, Buddha Raiders.
It's not about trickery.
Purple, Buddha Raiders.
But it does take constant communication.
He was lying there. It is about trickery. It definitely is about trickery. But every single word meant something. And the character that you see in Peyton Manning on the television was the character that was in the huddle as well. For example, tight end, one of the main tight end routes is called a dig route. And that's where you run 15 yards straight up the field, 90-degree angle across the field. And so the 3 hand signals that he created for the dig route was he's either going to dig in his nose, he's going to dig in the front of his pants, or his favorite when he'd be at the line and look down at me, tell me to run a dig would be to dig right here in his butt. So he liked to have fun on the field too, but every single word meant something, all right? So let me test you on this, okay? So it started with an actual play, right? Dice right ice cream, alert, 654 Jose on nothing. Dice right ice cream, alert, 654 Jose on nothing. That's real. That's real. Every single one of those words means something. But there was one word that meant the most. Who can guess what it was? Dice right ice cream, alert, 654 Jose on nothing. Anybody? 0? Ice cream, that's important. 654, that's the pass protection, that's important too. On nothing. Nothing. Nothing told us the play didn't exist. Nothing told us that he was going to try to draw the defense off sides. So he gave us a play, dice right, ice cream alert, 654 Jose on nothing. But then he's saying, because he said nothing, he's saying, okay, but before we go to that play, we're going to go to the line of scrimmage, and I'm going to try to draw the defense off sides. Okay? He also said ice cream. Ice cream was his way of reminding us at the line of scrimmage, don't jump off sides, because I'm going to try to get them to jump off sides. So that's why when he came up to the line of scrimmage, you heard chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. So he could give us any flavor of ice cream and remind us that the play was on nothing. Right? And if he liked what he saw, we could go back and run the original play, dice right, 654 Jose. Or if he saw something new, he could wipe everything clean and then just begin to create. And that's what happened, right? He got under center, said, hut, hut, hut. Nobody jumped off sides, but the safeties shifted. So it told the master chess player now exactly what the defense was going to do. So now he switched everything. Brown Richmond, he starts saying to the linemen. Brown Richmond tells every single offensive lineman exactly who they're supposed to block so that Peyton doesn't get sacked. 96 right double, he's saying to the 3 receivers on the right, telling them to run 5 yards straight up the field, 90-degree angle to the sideline. And if they don't hear him, he's giving them the hand signal for 96 right double. Then he says to our running back, run a flare. A flare is a wide bending route to the sideline. It's a safety route, so that if nobody else is open, he can come back to the flare on the sideline. And just before he gets under all-pro center Jeff Saturday, he gives a little hand signal like this to Reggie Wayne, telling him to run a slant. 3 steps straight up the field, 45-degree angle into the end zone. All of that communication, every single word having to be understood by every single person in the exact same way, telling everybody what to do, knowing he was going to throw the slant the entire time, and not even looking out there to Reggie, just giving him a hand signal. Said, hut, step back, hit the slant. And that happened 65 to 75 times a game. I'm exhausted just like going back through all that with you guys. But words matter. Words matter. So our culture of communication was built on content, purpose, and delivery. Content, purpose, and delivery. What are you saying? Why are you saying it? And how are you saying it? This is just another example of the importance of the how, right? Identifying what you believe and value, why do you believe it and value it, and then how can we practically and tactically practice this in the workplace, right? What are you saying, why are you saying it, and how are you saying it? If you can answer those 3 questions as leaders speaking to your people, I promise you that the amount of clarity that will come out of those conversations will improve, right? So we can always create a system of culture based upon every one of our beliefs and values. What happens in life when we don't think through these? right? Anybody ever said something emotionally without thinking it through first? How about anybody to your spouses or partners? What happens when you don't do this well? Do you ever get the stink eye? I do. Oh man, I think I said something about her shirt, and I didn't think through the what, why, and how, and it was a problem for me. Okay, what does it look like when you make that mistake with your children? Oh boy. Okay, I remember saying something about Anna's dress here from Frozen, and Amy was not having it because I didn't think through it. But what happens when you actually take the time to consider what you're saying, why you're saying it, how you're saying it, that every single word you use matters? You can pour life into people. You know, what does that look like? What does that look like when you're at work? Work is so transactional, right? We have a job to do. It's intense. We work hard every single day. And so we can easily lose sight of the importance of our words and how we're communicating, right? That distribution of language is really important, right? So this was our way on a team situation of overcoming that, right? Words matter. Be thoughtful and intentional to edify people, right? To breathe life into people. And most importantly is this concept of love. It's always uncomfortable to talk about this, but this was just Dungy's way. This was just Dungy's way. He said in our first team meeting, men, I'm here to win, but my first job is to build a family. And the acronym for family in football is forget about me, I love you. The power of selflessness, what happens when we put others before ourselves, right? We have the only Super Bowl ring in the history of football to have a non-negotiable belief symbol engraved in the side of the ring, and it was the word faith. It had nothing to do with religion. It had everything to do with inspiring 53 of the most diverse people and egotistical people, because you have to have some ego to play in the NFL, to come together as one. Right? So the acronym for faith on the side of the ring was freedom for all individuals to trust and hope in each other. And that was Dungy's ultimate goal through servant leadership, was to build a family of 53 men that trusted in each other. And ultimately that was to result in value, trust, and commitment. When we do those things well, we increase value in our people, we build trust between our teams, that leads to a greater level of commitment, which leads to a stronger degree of output, right? Again, just another practical way of explaining that. This is what love looks like in the workplace. I still don't understand why. It's like I have my Zoolander blue steel model face on here for this picture. I don't get that, but this is just right after we had twins and me taking the night shifts so my wife could sleep. And so, you know, how are we creating more value for people, leading to trust and commitment? What does that look like in the workplace? How are we coming together? How are we valuing and respecting each other in the workplace? It's something that's really important to consider. And then how do we create practicable systems in order to accomplish that, right? To increase value, treating people with significance, and to respect and honor one another. And ultimately, practicing culture transforms lives. I'll close with this story. My senior year, I was one of the top tight ends in the country, up for the Mackey Award, which is the nation's top tight end award. Was supposed to be a first-round draft pick. We're playing Wisconsin. I release on a corner route, and as I plant my foot to turn for the ball, I hear and feel popping all across my lower abdomen. Pop, 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 pop. And all of a sudden, my legs stop working, and I fall to the turf. But I caught the ball, so I mean, that's good. But that was it. That was the end of my college career. I had ended up tearing the abs from the bone on both sides, and it was a severe injury. 3 months later at the NFL draft, I learned that every NFL team physician red flagged me, which means I was too much of a health risk. And now the concern was, am I even going to get drafted? So the NFL draft came along, and 2 days goes by, and my name was never called. Went from being 15th to 32nd pick to not being called at all. I'm driving up to my agent's office on a rainy Minnesota day, holding back tears, because I think it's over, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. Rewind 2 months, I'm opening as a speaker and introducing none other than Tony Dungy at a huge event on the University of Minnesota in front of about 700 people. And I get up in front of all these people and I say, hey, coach, he was a former Gopher, right? So I say, hey, coach, as a former Gopher, if you really care about this university, you're going to draft me in the upcoming draft. And everybody laughed at that and got a kick out of it. He got up and he was gracious enough to respond. He said, you know, Ben, we drafted a first-round tight end last year, so I don't think we're going to be looking for tight ends this year. And then he paused and he stepped back from the podium as if he was being downloaded something. And he said, came back to the podium and said, Ben, I'm going to make a promise to you in front of all these people. If for some reason you slip through the cracks, for some reason you don't get drafted, I promise I'll be the first person to call. And everybody clapped and cheered for that and kind of went in one ear and out the other for me. But here I am 2 months later sitting across from my agent with my dad, and we think that it's all over. My only chance is to be brought in as a highly injured free agent. And the free agents are usually the leftovers, the guys that come in and give people a break, and rarely do they ever make a team. And 5 seconds after the free agent market opens, the phone on my agent's desk rings, and I pick it up, and who do you think it was? Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was the first person to call. Not only Tony Dungy, but also our general manager, Bill Polian, head coach and a general manager calling a free agent, saying, Ben, we didn't think this was going to happen. We know how talented you are when you're healthy. We've also had experience with this injury, so here's what we want to do. We want you to be a Colt. We're going to send you to the top surgeon in the country. We don't even want you to play the first year. Just get better, and on top of that, we'll pay you as though you're a playing rookie. And here's a little signing bonus to let you know that we care. What? This is the NFL. What have you done for me lately? Nothing. And the miracle in that is because one man is practicing a chosen belief and value system to transform the lives of every one of his players. I had the opportunity to earn a starting position on a Super Bowl championship team. And none of that happens without the practicing of a culture designed to improve the human condition at work. Right? Culture matters. Culture is ultimately transformational. And this is what our culture dream looked like. This is what our culture dream looked like. 53 of the most diverse players coming together on bended knee, giving thanks for the faith that we had in each other around a culture that led us to a world championship with the Lombardi Trophy here. So my question for you is, what does your culture dream look like? Whether you're a student, whether you're an executive, whether you're a business owner, what does your culture dream look like? I want to end with something I never do. I'm going to share a song with you guys. Oh, you've actually never heard me sing before, so just hold up. But I want you guys to answer that question as I sing this song. This song it's an awesome song called What You'd Call a Dream, and it's about every American kid's sports dream and what that actually looks like and what that actually feels like. And consider how you can answer for yourself. What is your culture dream going to look like? What would you call culture as your dream? There are two men out, and it's in the ninth, and the score is 4-3. There's a man on first, and a man at bat, and the man at bat is me. And I'm sorta scared, and I'm sorta proud, and I'm stronger than I seem. And I take a swing, and my dad is there.
It's what you'd call a dream. For the ball flies in the sun and it sails off as I run. The crowd is roaring, cheering as I go. So are all the guys on the team. And I run for home, we win the game. It's what you'd call a dream. And the sun shines like diamonds. And the sun shines like diamonds. And the sun high in the baseball sky shines like diamonds. And the sun shines like. I was just a boy playing catch with Dad in a backyard full of dreams. Then one came true when we beat the Bears and became the greatest team. It's what you'd call a dream.
Thank you for letting me share that with you guys. Again, just designed to inspire you to choose to be the champion for your culture and to win and to change the lives and the transforms of the lives of everybody that works with you and for you, right? In order to build an amazing culture. Thank you so much. Any questions? So I think we have a few minutes. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. I mean, we spent a lot of time on the inspirational side of culture, but happy to talk about what we're actually doing in our companies as well, or any questions you have about football or anything. I mean, we've got a few minutes here. Who's gonna be the first to raise their hand and celebrate the pursuit of knowledge? Let's go. We've got some questions here in the back. So the idea around the beliefs and value structure, right, is important to understand. Values are critical, right? And what really I've learned, in working with some of the PhD mentors and chief people officers that I've been able to work underneath is that the values are reflective of the non-negotiable beliefs of the community. So what we want to do is we don't, when we build our mission, vision, values, we go into the process of talking about all the things that are important to us as a company, as an organization. And there's so much meat that exists within that we let go of and just use a word in an inspirational, aspirational state. And so the goal is to take those powerful values that are designed to represent your performance culture or your aspirational culture, two different things that you need to understand. The difference between performance culture and aspirational culture. And to actually build an educational training culture platform that comes out of the what, why, and how of what we believe about those values, right? So beliefs and values work together in order to give you the best opportunity to build a culture training system for your organizations.
I have to ask, what does Omaha mean?
Yes, awesome. Never fails. So Omaha, was something started by Peyton, and it's now become the name of his production company, Omaha Productions. So they really love that word. Omaha was a run audible, and so what it did is it accomplished three things in one word. Okay, it automatically changed the play count to being on 2. So whatever it was, whatever the play count was, if it was on first sound or on 2, 3, or 4, or on the word go, the minute Peyton said Omaha, Omaha, we knew as an offense that it was on 2, right? So we knew when the ball would be snapped and we could move together. The second two things that it did, because of the audible system, and Peyton would always let the time clock count down, right? 3, 4, 5, or 5, 4, 3, and he's still making these plays. So in certain situations, when we would have an outside run, which means the running back is going to run outside the last man on the line of scrimmage, but that was no longer available because of the defense, but inside run on the left was open. In one word, he could go to the play being on 2 and to take the run from an outside zone run play on the right to an inside zone run play on the left. Right? It would often happen at the last seconds. 2, 1, Omaha said hut, and it would just shift the entire play from an outside run play on the right to an inside run play on the left. Yeah. Yes?
My question is more on the family side as a fellow girl parent.
Awesome.
My kids are grown, but would you say making it to the Super Bowl is more challenging than raising 4 daughters?
Oh, man. My body doesn't hurt as much raising 4 daughters, but no, I think, listen, the realities of making it to the NFL are very slim. So the statistics say that 10% of all high school football players will go play some divisional level of college football. Division 3, 2, or 1. 1% of every Division 1 football player will make it to the NFL, right? And then as you get into the teams that actually make it to the Super Bowl and win, the percentages get incredibly small. So that path is a very challenging path. But also being a father is a very challenging task. I think you hear me talking a lot about communication and these things up here, but I've learned more about myself as a man and a leader, honestly being led by these 5 incredible women, because it really challenges me as a man to do a better job of being vulnerable, which is tough, right? It's defined as being willing to open yourself up to being emotionally wounded. But the more vulnerable I am with these young women, and the more I can do a better job of communicating and making sure that they understand my words, what I mean and why I mean it, and the stronger those relationships grow. And that takes a lot of practice, and I'm not perfect at it by any means, but these things cross over from life into business so wonderfully. Yes? How can you help your family, what? Strive at their lowest. Thank you. How can I help my family strive when they're at their lowest? Wow, what a powerful question. And really what a wonderful question to ask, because that's a reflection of your empathy for your family and your compassion for your family. I think that there's, I'm answering her question. Yeah, no, that's okay. So how do you come alongside your family or your team when you're in the valley, right? In football, the way that we would do that is always go back to the techniques and fundamentals. So when we'd have a horrible game, and when we'd watch that film and there was mistakes, right? There was penalties, there was turnovers, and it just did not look like the Indianapolis Colts. We would always go back to the foundation of our techniques and fundamentals, the basics, the tools that we use in order to guide our footwork and to guide our hand placement and to guide how we catch the football. And it would seem elementary at times, but what it did is it grounded us and it brought us back to something that we've all done so well together. And then that allowed us to, practicing the system of the techniques and fundamentals allowed us to push through some of the greatest obstacles that we faced as a team. And I would say that that's a similar thing, if I can just share with you from my own personal experience as a father, is when we've gone through some challenging times as our children are maturing, or when my wife and I don't agree on the same strategy or system for how we practice home life, it's to really come back to those foundational beliefs, right? So what we've actually done as a family is we've actually created our own family creed. Like we actually are intentional to sit down as a family to really identify what are the core beliefs and values that we want to represent our family, right? And then how do we practice those? How do we develop those in ourselves? We have this. We have it written out at home. And so when we end up going through some of those tough times and our emotions get the best of us, right, everybody in life and in business, we can come back to that, to that family creed that we have, that non-negotiable belief and value system. And that gives us a strong, foundation to then move forward on. So that would be maybe one thing to consider within your own family as well. It's a great question. Thank you. One more, and we'll shut her down.
Can you talk a bit about in creating culture? A lot of times it's kind of top down, but how do you involve when you get buy-in? But how do you involve the players in sort of creating that culture too? Is it just an accept what's given, or how does that play out?
That's a great question, right? There's definitely some tension between culture being bottom up or culture being top down in the workplace. And that's going to come out of, really some of the individual beliefs that are here in the room. As I've been taught and trained, what we believe is that culture has to be the leader's choice, right? Culture has to start at the top, but that doesn't mean that we're not practicing inclusion and diversity of thought from the team members. We want to go out and we want to understand very objectively what type of a culture do our people desire to have. And that has to be included into the consideration, of the culture that we choose as leaders. So this is what we did in True North companies. We took our 8 core values and we actually turned that into a 30-page culture onboarding and training manual that goes through very descriptively each of those non-negotiable beliefs and values, right? So for example, integrity. Well, integrity has 4 pages that goes through and describes the what of integrity and why does integrity matter and how is integrity practiced in the workplace and how do we develop integrity in ourselves. And all of that information came out of surveying all of our team members, right? So that in the creation of our organizational culture creed, every single one of them was able to put their imprint into that manuscript, right? Now that's going to get more difficult when you get into the global companies and you're working with tens of thousands of employees, and so there's different strategies for how you approach small, mid-cap, large, and global. But to the best of your ability, I think it's important to bring in as much of the team perspectives as you can in considering that. But ultimately, leadership has to be the captain of the culture of an organization. Good? Awesome. Thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Denise. Thank you.
So we are now going to be going to the round tables and all the breakout sessions. I just want to, again, thank Ben. I want to thank Mr. Dykhouse. I want to thank the Talent and Workforce Committee. I want to thank all of our Career Connection kids, all of our businesses. This is such a very important conversation for us to be having, so thank you for being part of it. All of my Career Connection kids are now going to go to Exhibit Hall 1, and then we have breakouts that are happening in rooms 6 to 7, rooms 8 to 10, and rooms 11 to 14. Thank you.